Hello everyone, this is Austin with the Composite Creative, and today we're talking about frequency separation. Now the scope of this particular tutorial is to be short, sweet, and to the point, and just give you the formula of frequency separation and not the theory. There are plenty of other tutorials out on the web that you can find that will dig in deeper into the theory, but this one is just going to give you the formula. So let's dig right into it. So what is frequency separation? Well, frequency separation is dividing an image up into two separate layers. One layer is going to contain all of the detail and texture information, while the other layer will contain all of the color information. Pretty simple. And this is going to allow you to make adjustments to color without affecting the texture, and making some adjustments to texture without affecting the color. So let's jump right in here. To start it off, you're going to duplicate your background layer twice. Let's name the top layer to high. This is the layer that's going to contain all your texture information. Second layer here, we're going to name to low. This particular layer will contain all of your color information. So let's hide the high layer by clicking on the little eyeball icon there. Make sure your low layer is selected. Go up to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. Now when you get to this particular point, you need to choose a radius which is going to blur out all of your finer detail information, but still kind of retain the color structure. And so as you can see here, if it's too low, we still have detail information. So we need to go a bit higher. But if we go too high, we've lost the color structure. It's all over the place. We can no longer see the shadow there underneath the lip. So you want to find something that is going to be a happy medium. That kind of works for me for right now. And what you want to do to keep in mind too is that this blur radius is going to be different for every image based upon the size of the image and resolution. Okay, moving on. Let's make our high layer visible again. Select it, and let's go up to Image, Apply Image, and it'll bring up this little window here. So from the source area for the layer, we want to select the low layer. All right, and make sure you click Invert. And your blending mode needs to be set to Add. Your scale should be set to 2, and your offset is 0. Now, those are the settings for a 16-bit image. If you're working in an 8-bit image, they're going to vary just a little bit. Your source layer is still going to be low. You will uncheck the Invert, and your blending mode will be Subtract. Your scale will still be 2, but your offset will be 128. So once you have that set based upon what you're working on, click OK. So now we're here. We want to select the blend mode for that particular high layer to linear light, and this puts us back where we started. So those two layers, the texture is on the high layer, the low layer has all the color information. Now I like to work as non-destructively as possible, so what I will do, I will add a blank layer between the two, and I like to name this to either color or tone or whatever works for you. And on this layer, this is where we're going to be evening out the transitions that we need to correct. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. You can see here on the chest that there's a little bit of splotchiness. Now there's some color difference here, especially in the tones between the face and the chest, and that we would not necessarily correct in frequency separation. But we just want to even out these transitions here first before we correct that later on. So to do that, I want to make sure I've got my brush tool selected and that I have a nice, I have a nice soft brush. Yes, I do. All right. And let's go up here, make sure our flow is set to somewhere between 2 and 4%. I like to work around the 2% area, but that's going to vary depending upon what I need. Make sure our color layer is selected. And let's zoom in a little bit here. Make sure your brush size is selected or set to something that is going to be relative to the area that you're working on. So let's select a color, sample it, and just begin to paint. All right, just like that. And it doesn't take long because it's just building up that color over and over. And you want to select sample and paint often. That way you're blending those colors a lot better. So as you can see here, we're going to sample and paint, just trying to even out all of these transitions so it's not as splotchy. And we don't want it to be too perfect either. But as you can see here, we're doing a pretty good job of that. All right. So let's zoom out here and see what we've got. So looking at this area here, that's before and that's after. So it's just done a really great job of smoothing out that transition, which is going to be easier for us later on when we try to color correct that as well. Now, if you have some texture issues that you want to fix, we can do that on the high layer. And again, I like to work as non-destructive as possible before I commit to my changes. So I will copy that high layer. I will set that particular blend mode to normal, and then I'm going to clip that layer to the high layer. And now I can work on the texture without affecting the color information. So let's go ahead and select our healing brush tool. And again, working with a brush size that is relative to the area that we're working on, I want to select, some texture area here and cover up this little spot. Now, as you can see, it looks a little crazy. So when you select your healing brush tool, you want to make sure that it is set to current layer only. You don't want current and below. That's what happens here. So Command Z to undo that. And here we go. Just like that. So we've kind of pulled that out. We haven't lost any of the color information. We've just affected the texture. So this is a quick overview of frequency separation. These, like stray hairs here, you could adjust in frequency separation, but there's other ways to deal with those as well. But this is, again, not the scope of this particular tutorial. So I hope that's helpful, folks. That is frequency separation. I'm going to go ahead and group these together here and call it frequency separation. And you can create an action for this if you like, which is going to make it even faster for you. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line and I will answer them the best way that I can. Thanks for watching.